Hey guys, welcome to 𝑑𝑗𝑻𝑪�𝑳. Today in an episode called Telepathic Torment featuring our Espeon VMAX all the way back from Evolving Skies. Well, my bad. Yep, Evolving Skies, allowing you to prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks done to all of your Pokemon with energy attached using the Solar Revelation ability. We also get to play the Max Mindstorm attack, by the way, with this Pokemon. So Max Mindstorm is doing 60x damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon combined. So if they have, for example, Arceus V-Star Engine, if they play Arceus V-Star, Lugia V-Star, or any other cards that draw in a lot of energies with attacks, effects of attacks to basically get more energies into the game, like Gardevoir EX as well. We actually get to play Max Mindstorm for an insta kill against a one of their EX or one of their V-Star or VMAX on the bench by doing a boss or Serena at the last minute after doing our Wobbuffet. So the main combo for this deck obviously is our Wobbuffet and also Wyrdeer to basically help out for the first two strikes before we actually pull up our Max Mindstorm. So this is basically a finishing attacker. We want to be using this for the ability, helping us prevent our opponent from playing Sableye, cards like Sableye or any other effects of attacks to knock us out with damage counters, just because we are trying to collect damage counters on our Espeon, on our VMAX, for us to be able to play our Mirror Pain, doing big damage with a one prize Pokemon, up to 300, placing up to 30 damage counters on our opponent's active. For only 2 colorless, we actually get to play a 1 price card while also denying them the boss, since we have our Sun and Moon Badge for us to attach onto our Espeon VMAX on the bench. Forcing our opponent to basically waste their boss on the VMAX. So if they play a boss on a Espeon, expecting to pull it out into the active, we actually get to deny them, the boss knockout by using the Sun and Moon Badge to basically nullify the effect of any support cards done to our Espeon. So we also have our Gardevoir EX, obviously, to basically attach energies, as many Psychic Energy onto our Pokemon, onto our Psychic Pokemon, as often as we like during our turn, placing 2 damage counters on that Pokemon as we attach each Psychic Energy. So if we attach, for example, 5 energies onto our Espeon from the discard pile with our Psychic Embrace, we actually get to place 10 damage counters on our Espeon VMAX, collecting damage counters while also doing big damage with our Wyrdeer. All we need to do is retreat the active or switch onto the Wyrdeer for us to be able to use our Frontier Road ability, transferring any amount of energies from your other Pokemon onto your Wyrdeer as you move this Pokemon into the active spot. So we actually get to use the ability to transfer as many Psychic Energy as we want onto our Wyrdeer, doing 40x damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. For 3 colorless, we actually get to transfer any amount of Psychic Energy attached to our Espeon, any amount, since we actually get to control, we actually get to attach unlimited Psychic Energy from the discard pile with our Gardevoir. We're essentially attaching unlimited energy onto our Wyrdeer, as much as we have in the discard pile, obviously, for us to do a massive knockout with Psy Shield Badge for our first strike. And then on our next turn, we actually get to play our Wobbuffet to basically reattach the energy from the discard pile. After they knock out our Wyrdeer, we essentially would have at least 8 more energies in the discard pile to reattach onto our Espeon, collecting even more damage counters on our VMAX, so that we actually get to play our Mirror Pain to basically put as many damage counters on our opponent's active as we have on our bench VMAX. So we actually get to play our Agatha as well for us to knock out a VMAX Pokemon with 1 hit after playing our Mirror Pain in the active, just because Mirror Pain is not actually enough to kill off a VMAX on its own. We need extra 2 or 3 more damage counters for it to do the trick, and Agatha is actually perfect for single strike Wobbuffet. So we also have our draw support, Kirlia, obviously drawing 2 cards at a time while also discarding your energies, and also Radiant Greninja, which is perfect for Gardevoir EX, obviously discarding your energy for you to play your Psychic Embrace, so that you actually get to rake in as much energies into the game for you to play your Frontier Road to transfer them onto your Wyrdeer by doing a retreat or a switch. We only have 1 Escape Rope though for this deck, but we do have Arven to search for it. We also have our regular supporter cards to draw cards into our hand as well, with our Zinnia to discard more energies, Serena as well to discard and draw. We also get to shuffle back our supporter and Pokemon with our Team Yell's Cheer, a very standard card that we're using for our decks right now. And we also have our Worker to basically deny them the path to the Peak Log, since we are playing EX ability, our Rubox ability, which is super important, that needs to be activated every single turn. We actually need to rely on Gardevoir EX's ability for us to be able to attach energy. We need to rely on Wyrdeer's Frontier Road ability for it to be able to move those energies onto your colorless Pokemon, just because you can't actually attach attach, you're not allowed to attach Psychic Energy onto your Wyrdeer using Psychic Embrace, just because Gardevoir EX only allows you to attach energies from the discard pile onto your Psychic Pokemon, and Wyrdeer is not a Psychic type. So that's the reason we need Wyrdeer's ability, and that's why we have so many stadiums and also our worker. We're playing one PokéStop and one Mesagoza to get our Pokemons. We also have our balls, 4 Level Ball for Ralts and Kirlia, 1 Hisuian Heavy Ball to get any basics from the prize, 2 Fog Crystal to get our basic Psychic Pokemon or basic Psychic Energy into our hand. We also get to bench a basic including Wyrdeer with our Nest Ball. Obviously Fog Crystal doesn't work for Wyrdeer, Level Ball doesn't work for it either, but we actually get to play our Nest Ball and VIP for Wyrdeer. Wyrdeer is actually a Nest Ball or Ultra Ball card, just because we are actually, we don't really want to be benching our Wyrdeer that early with our VIP pass, and that's the reason we have our Ultra Ball as well for this deck, helping us search for not just our evolution but also our Wyrdeer, so that we actually get to do a surprise Side Shield Bash at the last minute by retreating our Mew, for example, or Greninja in the active. Only for only 1 energy we get to retreat and, you know, transfer as many energy from our Espeon VMAX onto the Wyrdeer for us to do a big knockout with our first Side Shield Bash, and then collect another knockout with our 1 prize Wobbuffet on the next turn, before finishing off the game with our Max Mindstorm or a Thorton for another Wobbuffet or another Side Shield Bash. Finally, we're also playing 1 Peonia to get any cards from the prize, since we only are playing 1 copy of our VMAX, and we actually do need our Espeon VMAX for us to not just play the ability, denying our opponent effects of attacks, but also for us to use our Sun and Moon Badge combo, so that we actually get to deny our opponent an easy boss KO after we have collected that much damage counters on our Espeon VMAX. They would definitely be wanting to target this Pokemon for easy prize KO, and that's why we are using this Sun and Moon Badge in our favor to basically deny our opponent from killing our Espeon after using our Mirror Pain with an easy boss. So if we collect damage counters on our Gardevoir, for example, for us to transfer the energy onto our Wyrdeer with Frontier Road, while also collecting damage counters on our Gardevoir EX for us to play our Mirror Pain on the next turn after our Wyrdeer gets knocked out, after playing our Side Shield Bash. Obviously, they would be targeting our Gardevoir after killing off the Wyrdeer, just because after playing a Mirror Pain, they can easily do a boss for a insta KO. Having only 2 or 3 damage counters left on your EX, they can easily just knock it out with a Klefki, for example, while denying you the ability, your basic ability, on the next turn as well. So it's very, very important to basically collect your damage counters on the Espeon instead of your other Psychic Pokemon while you're charging up for your Side Shield Bash for your first attack. You need to be attaching energy onto your Espeon so that you actually get to collect enough damage counters for you to do enough damage, for you to place enough damage counters on the opponent's active with your Mirror Pain, doing a big knockout with Wobbuffet as well. We also want to play 𝑑𝑻𝑪𝑮𝑳 for us to cancel out any effects of our opponent's Pokemon's abilities done to our Pokemon. With Psychic Energy attached, we actually get to deny them a Hawlucha's Flying Entry to kill off our Espeon. If we have 10 HP remaining, for example, we get to hit big damage with Mirror Pain, and they can actually quite easily kill off the VMAX on the bench with Flying Entry by benching 1 Hawlucha. So that's how dangerous it is collecting that much damage counters on your VMAX. Be very careful if they play Hawlucha. Make sure you have only like 28 damage counters on your VMAX. If you are placing only 28 damage counters with your Mirror Pain, it may actually be good enough to kill off a V-Star, so you don't need that much damage counter on your Espeon to knock out a V-Star for 2 prize. If you target the right Pokemon with your boss Serena, we're playing 1 copy of each of those cards as well. We even have Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle back our supporters. If we discard them with our Kirlia, with our Zinnia, we can shuffle back our boss to target the right Pokemon with our Mirror Pain, while also denying them the easy knockout with Hawlucha. Last but not least, with our Manaphy for the bench barrier, and also 1 Mew to help us search for any item from the top 6 cards of our deck, with 14 basic Psychic Energy and 2 Fog Crystal to search for them, helping us discard our energies fast for us to play Side Shield Bash for big damage early game. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game versus Arceus V-Star Giratina. We're playing Espeon VMAX with Wobbuffet. And we have Wyrdeer as well, which is pretty cool. So Wyrdeer is actually doing a little bit more damage than Zacian, hitting 40x for each energy attached. Zacian is actually doing only 30x for each Psychic Energy, and you are actually forced to, well, you're not allowed to attach that much energies onto Zacian, but you don't really need that much though. If you attach, for example, 8 energies, you got a VMAX knockout already. Because you're doing a V-star knockout. You need 9 energies though, don't you? You need 9 energies to kill off a VMAX without a choice belt. If you want the Sky Seal Stone extra prize, if you want the extra prize with star order, you actually need to attach the tool card onto your Zacian while playing the V-star power, do the knockout with 9 energies attached, which is kind of a high demand. That means you would only have 40 HP remaining. But normally Gardevoir decks run Picnic Basket or Emergency Jelly to recover a couple damage counters for them to attach even more energy. So I feel like Zacian can quite easily, you know, do the trick, because it even has the Roar of the Sword ability for you to attach energy from the deck early game, like on your first few turns before you get your rare candy or your Gardevoir EX in play. So for this deck, we're actually not playing rare candy though. I forgot to mention in the deck review, we actually are not choosing not to play that just because it allows us to discard a lot more energies. If we do the Kirlia, if we evolve multiple Kirlias in a row, we actually get to discard way more energies from our hand for us to play Wyrdeer for a massive knockout on our third turn, which is a lot though. We actually are not able to do anything. We are not able to attack on our second turn just because we don't have any Gardevoir EX in play until we get through the stage 1 evolution. So not playing any rare candies for a Gardevoir EX deck is obviously very risky. You can actually think about playing more Research or Zinnia for this deck for you to discard energies faster if you do want to play rare candy for your Gardevoir EX, but I'm choosing not to, which is obviously very risky because at the last minute they could do a boss on your Gardevoir EX on the bench and finish it off with a Drapion. For example, if they do a Lost Box, they can quite easily do Mirage Gate or even Galarian Moltres to basically do a boss on your Gardevoir and knock it out for an extra prize if you have a Wobbuffet in the active. So Wobbuffet is basically denying them the boss on the Espeon VMAX because we have Sun and Moon Badge, but it doesn't actually deny them the extra prize if they kill our Gardevoir with a boss. Serena obviously doesn't work because Gardevoir is an EX. So not attacking on the first couple turns means that we need a few Pokemons for the sacrifice. We need some Sacrificial Lambs in this deck, and our Sacrificial Lamb is an extra copy of Ralts and also 1 Mew for us to play the ability as well, helping us search for item cards at the top 6 of our deck and put it into our hand, playing VIP Pass, for example, early game, or even Level Ball to get Kirlia into the game so that we get to start discarding and drawing cards fast. So Mew is adding a lot of value to this deck, not only for not only as a scapegoat, but also to help us make the deck a lot more consistent. So here comes the Arceus, and they are actually playing the Cleansing Glove. So Cleansing Glove actually does 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, active Psychic Pokemon, if you attach it to your attacker, obviously. So if they have the Cleansing Glove on the Giratina, they can actually do a Gardevoir EX knockout or even an Espeon VMAX knockout, since we are playing nothing but Psychic type Pokemons. And, with Lost Impact, they're actually able to do a one-hit knockout on the Gardevoir. So we have to watch out for that. 280 is actually not enough to kill any VMAX. But with that Cleansing Glove, though, it is just perfect math against the Gardevoir deck. So Giratina is doing a lot of damage. Arceus is helping supply that energy cost. But obviously, I don't think they can do it that many times, though. If they play the first Trinity Nova, they can actually get enough energies to basically do Lost Impact twice in a row after that, since they can attach one from their hand every single turn. But if they do that, though, they would have a lot less energies for them to supply the next Giratina, because they are losing the energy, and even if they play Recycler, I'm not sure if they would have enough to power up the next Giratina. So they kind of have to play nothing but Arceus after the first Giratina dies. I feel like is a lot less consistent than most people think, because Giratina, I mean, don't get me started on Giratina. I already did that for the last video. I don't want to go on about the same thing, but people keep thinking Giratina is a very, very powerful Pokemon. It honestly isn't. It honestly isn't. They have Choice Belt, they even have Cleansing Glove, but if they do Choice Belt on the Gardevoir, it actually doesn't work. Choice Belt is helping them kill off the Wyrdeer with the Arceus. So we do have to watch out for that. The Arceus with the double turbo, if they play the second one, if they charge up the second one with energies, because we actually did early damage right now. I'm not sure how much damage we actually got. So we actually did Cybolt with Espeon V, the basic Pokemon. For 1 energy, we are doing 60 damage to any of our opponent's Pokemon V, and we chose the Arceus on the bench since they don't have a Manaphy. We actually get free 60 damage in the game early, and that means we need a lot less energies on the Wyrdeer to finish off the first V-Star. Obviously, if they attack with the second one, though, at some point, we're going to need a lot more energies to kill off the V-Star. But all we need is honestly just 7, right? 7 energies, which is a lot less than what Zacian needs. 7 energies attached to your Pokemon onto the bench. With an energy from your hand for a retreat cost, you actually get to transfer them onto your Wyrdeer using its ability. After attaching with your Gardevoir EX, obviously you have to attach with the Psychic Embrace first before doing the retreat or switch. So you actually get to transfer those energies onto your Wyrdeer and do a big knockout. Okay, so we got our Gardevoir ready to go. We only have 1 Kirlia on the bench, unfortunately. So this is one of the earlier lists where we decided to play more Espeon for some reason. Eventually I decided, you know what, if we don't get the Espeon VMAX, we could actually play the Gardevoir EX to substitute for it. We could actually just attach the energy onto the Gardevoir itself. Use Psychic Embrace on itself to basically get enough energies in the game, and then switch onto the Wyrdeer to transfer those energies onto, to do Side Shield Bash for a big knockout, and then on the next turn play our Mirror Pain with Wobbuffet while taking even more damage counters onto the Gardevoir EX by attaching from the discard pile, attaching back all of those energies from Wyrdeer after they knock it out. Obviously, they're going to have to knock out a Wyrdeer. If they boss something else, Wyrdeer can do another big knockout. So they're kind of forced to target a Wyrdeer after we hit with our first Side Shield Bash. And if they do that, we can actually we can actually reattach those energies multiple times back onto the same Gardevoir to basically collect even more damage counters on it, so that we actually get to play Mirror Pain for a huge knockout. Obviously, the risk of that is that they can actually use Sableye to kill off the Gardevoir with damage counters. They can use Bench Snipe as well, but we have Manaphy. So if we don't have Espeon VMAX in play, it would be a lot more risky. If we have the VMAX in play, we can actually do the Sun and Moon Badge to basically deny them, the boss knockout, while also denying them the Sableye knockout, the effect knockout. So if they do a boss on the Espeon with damage counters on it, it's gonna get ignored. So boss doesn't work just because Sun and Moon Badge nullifies all effects of supporter cards done to your Espeon. And also, if they play Sableye, Espeon has energies attached, and that means they can't actually use damage counters to knock it out. So if we have damage counters on a Gardevoir, but an Espeon VMAX in play, they can still do a boss on a Gardevoir. So that's why it's a lot more important to get your damage counters on the Espeon. That's a lot safer, but in a situation where we can't get the Espeon in the game, sometimes you don't have a choice but to just attach it to the Gardevoir if you want to do early damage with your Side Shield Bash. But I would recommend not to do that, just because we do have the Heavy Ball. We have the Heavy Ball, we have Peonia, we have 1 copy of our Espeon, so it's not that difficult to basically get it. We have Arven as well to get a Heavy Ball. And the badge, obviously. Okay, we got the Ultra Ball for our Greninja. We're going to start drawing some cards while also discarding. Concealed cards. So we actually have a Klefki, which is kind of counterproductive. It's kind of counterintuitive for this deck just because it is blocking your own. We have Mew, we have Greninja, which is basic ability, and that means we're blocking our own ability. That's why we chose not to play it at, in the end. We have instead our Mew now. Double Turbo. So we are kind of forced to play the boss on next turn. If we don't play the boss on the Giratina, they can already kill off our Gardevoir EX on the next turn. So we have no Gardevoir on this turn yet, but at some point we're going to be forced to evolve it, and then they can do the Cleansing Glove on the Gardevoir EX, so we have to watch out for that. And we just got our boss in our hand right now. which is kind of the perfect time to be playing it. We kind of have no choice but to put the Greninja. It would be a bit smarter to put the Espeon VMAX into the active, but I'm not sure if they can actually do the knockout. I think they can though, because they have the Giratina ready to go. They just need 1 Psychic Energy on the Giratina for them to do Lost Impact for the VMAX knockout, because Espeon actually has only 310 HP, which is you know, a little bit lower than normal VMAX HP, I'm sad to say. It is kind of common though for Psychic Pokemons to be a little bit weaker in health, because they are so powerful. They have a lot more attack potential. Espeon doing big damage. If your opponent has a lot of energies attached, so if they play like a Shadow Rider VMAX, if they play Gardevoir EX as well, we're doing a lot of damage with Max Mindstorm. So it's doing like 60x damage for each energy attached to all of our opponent's Pokemon, which is a lot. So Arceus V-Star as well, we're going to be able to do a massive knockout at the last minute using Max Mindstorm for the last KO. But unfortunately for this game, we're not allowed to do that. If we attack with the Espeon VMAX to do a knockout on the Arceus, then Giratina is going to swoop in and kill off our VMAX, and then we don't have any more damage counters to play. No more damage counters, no more energies to play either Wyrdeer or even our Mirror Pain Wobbuffet. So anyways, here comes the Wyrdeer. So the reason I say using Espeon for a finishing attacker is kind of tricky is because if you attack at the last minute, they would essentially have very few energies remaining in play, and that means Max Mindstorm is not able to do a KO anymore. If you do an early KO, they may quite easily just finish off your VMAX after you play your Max Mindstorm, which is really bad, because if you kill a V-Star, if you kill an EX in the active, you are only taking 2 prizes, while your opponent is actually killing off a VMAX for 3 prize, and that means they are 1 prize ahead than you after killing off your Espeon, and that is not good. So if you are confident that Espeon can actually tank enough to survive a hit after playing a Max Mindstorm, then go for it, attack with it early, and then on the next turn retreat to the bench, play your Sun and Moon Badge on it, so that you actually get to block them from using a boss to target it once more, and then you can actually play a you know, Psychic Embrace to attach more energies, place more damage counters on the Espeon, while also playing your Mirror Pain for huge damage counter placement, knocking out a V-Star with 1 hit using your Wobbuffet. So Wobbuffet can kill off a V-Star with 1 strike, but not quite easily a VMAX. That's why we have our Agatha to top off for extra damage counters, killing off a VMAX. We're using Psychic Embrace as well. So we actually need to Embrace on the Wobbuffet to place 4 damage counters on it by attaching from the discard pile 2 energies, so that we are actually able to transfer 3 damage counters with Agatha from our active Wobbuffet to their active Pokemon, while also playing Mirror Pain for a maximum of 30 damage counter placement using our single strike Pokemon. So it's a very fun combo. It's a bit complicated though, so if you don't get your Agatha for Wobbuffet to do a VMAX knockout, you can quite easily play a different strategy. You can use Thorton instead to revive your Wyrdeer, and play it a second time by reattaching all those energies from the discard pile onto your Gardevoir, or even the same Espeon. If you don't have enough damage counters on it, you can actually use it twice. You can actually reattach energy twice in a row, just because if you have 8 energies on your Espeon, it's only placing 16 damage counters on it. You can actually attach 8 energies, 7 energies for the second time, just because it only has 310 HP obviously, so you can only attach up to 7 energies the second time, but 7 is enough. If you attach 1 from your hand and do the Escape Rope, 7 is enough for you to play Psychic Badge for a V-Star knockout. If you attach 1 from your hand without having to retreat, you actually get to play Psychic Badge for 320 damage, killing off a VMAX, potentially if they have only 320 HP or less on the VMAX. So that's the power of Wyrdeer. We have no Sky Seal Stone for this deck, unfortunately, because we are focusing more on Espeon, helping us deny our opponent from effects of attacks, and also the boss, the ominous boss Serena combo. If they play Serena on the Espeon VMAX on the bench, it gets denied. If they play boss, it gets denied. If they play Team Star Grunt, any supporter cards on our VMAX gets denied. I've probably repeated that multiple times already. Sorry about that, but it's just how my mind works, I guess. Trying to make things clearer for you guys so it's easier for you to play this deck. So every time I play a deck, you know, when I first start building this deck and experimenting with it, it's a little bit frustrating because you have to get your groove with the deck. You have to kind of know how to work it. If you don't know how to work a deck, if you don't know what to play first, if you don't know the plan, if you don't set out a strategy to play a certain deck, you are not going to win a single game. You have to plan ahead and you have to know what you're doing, what is the strategy, what's the combo that you want to be aiming for, and what to do with each card that you have in your hand, and you know what to play first. The sequencing matters obviously, and also the evolution matters, like what to evolve first, whether to evolve your Espeon or to focus more on your Gardevoir EX. For this deck, obviously we want to be using Gardevoir EX first and then worrying about our VMAX later, just because we can actually have the Sun and Moon Badge attached to our basic Espeon while also attaching energies on the Espeon as a basic, enough to satisfy the attack cost for us to do a knockout with our Side Shield Bash, while also collecting those damage counters for our Wobbuffet later on in the game. So if we attach, for example, 8 energies from the discard pile, we have only 16 damage counters on the basic Espeon, and that's actually okay just because it has 200 HP for us to tank a lot of damage counters with Gardevoir EX's ability. And if we attach the energy the second time round, we can actually evolve it later on to basically play our Mirror Pain Wobbuffet by the time we get the single strike Pokemon to attack with it. So if we attack with Wobbuffet, only then should we need to evolve our Espeon. Before that, we do not need our Espeon at all. Obviously, if we have the VMAX earlier, we can deny them the Lost Mine early game to finish off our Espeon on the bench with damage counters. But if they don't play Sableye, if they are not doing a Lost Box, you don't have to worry about evolving your VMAX that early. We have a lot of cards to get the VMAX into our hand. We have Jacq, we have Mesagoza, Ultra Ball. We have a lot of ways to search for the VMAX. And also our Gardevoir EX, obviously. We can also draw multiple cards with our Zinnia, Serena, Kirlia, obviously. So it's not that difficult to pull off the evolution. But evolving both the Gardevoir EX and the VMAX at the same time is quite difficult. So that's why I say it's more important to focus on evolving the Gardevoir than the VMAX, just because we may not be able to do both in a single turn. So anyways, we got our second knockout with our Wobbuffet, and now they're down to Arceus on the bench. I don't think they can attack with the second Giratina because they have not enough energies on it. If they play the Raihan though, they can actually play a Raihan on the Giratina and surprise us. We got our second Wobbuffet ready to go, and they can't actually do a boss on the Espeon. Keep in mind that Espeon is not immune to Cross Switcher or Lost Vacuum. So if they play a Lost Vacuum, same goes for your Poncho. If you have Leafy Camo Poncho attached to your V-Star or VMAX on the bench, they can still do a boss on it if they play Lost Vacuum at the right time to lost off your Poncho or Sun and Moon Badge. They can actually deny you that tool card's effect if they remove it from play. So it seems like they can't really do anything anymore, and they're just going to auto-concede, which is kind of annoying because most people do that. If they know they're gonna lose, they're just gonna leave people hanging. That's not really too nice, is it? If you leave people hanging, you're wasting everyone's time, and that's not a good thing. I mean, just concede early. Why don't you just concede early? It's not really too fair, is it? I guess maybe they were feeling like that and they want to pass on the feeling of unfairness by making us wait for the win. But I'm gonna take it. We won that game, and it's actually a pretty strong deck in meta right now. It's one of those top regional decks from EU IC or something. I'm not really sure what championship that deck is from, but it's kind of one of those top performing decks within the realm of Lugia V-Star Tyranitar, Gardevoir EX, and also we are playing Gardevoir though, aren't we? But we are kind of putting a different flavor onto the meta by using Espeon VMAX against Sableye Lost Box, and also our Wobbuffet with Wyrdeer instead of Zacian, which is a lot more spicy than the usual combo. The usual ones are Cresselia, Zacian, and Mewtwo V Union. Mewtwo V Union is really useful though, just because it prevents all effects of attacks done to itself. So if your opponent plays Sableye, they can't target the they can't target the Mewtwo, but they can quite easily target your Gardevoir EX with damage counters. They can target your Kirlia as well on the bench, obviously, but they should really be targeting the V Union, just because it is hitting them with damage counters every single turn, getting extra prizes on the bench. So they definitely have to take out the threat, which is the crazy Size Explosion, 16 damage counters every single turn with the crazy V Union. Anyways, here comes Mew VMAX with the Genesect engine, and they actually are playing Meloetta for this game. They didn't get the Elisa, and they chose not to search for it with the Forest Seal Stone. They may have a couple of the the Fusion Strike energy in their hand, so Elisa is not going to help you attach extra energies. On the first few turns, if you have the Fusion Strike in your hand already, or a couple copies prized, then Elisa is not actually going to help you attack with your Meloetta early game, and that means you are actually not allowed to do more damage, since Melodious Echo is able to hit a maximum of 280 damage if you have all 4 Fusion Strike energies in play. Obviously, if they kill off the first Meloetta, you would have a lot less damage in the game, since you have, 1 energy in the discard pile and only 3 Fusion Strike in play, possibly if you don't attach 2 onto your Meloetta. If you have only 1, obviously it's a lot smarter to spread your special energies. If you play against Duraludon as well, you're gonna need to have Path to the Peak in the deck to counter Skyscraper, which is quite annoying. Anyways, a good stadium to play against Mew though is Temple of Sinnoh, just because Fusion Strike energy is mad annoying. If you are playing Samurott V-Star, for example, or any other decks that require you to basically use abilities on the Mew, you need that Temple of Sinnoh. If you need to affect them with special conditions, for example, poison them, force them to go to sleep, or if you need to place damage counters on them with effects of abilities, then you would need the Temple of Sinnoh to shut down the Fusion Strike Energy's effect. Otherwise, your ability is not going to work on the Mew, and that could be a big hindrance to your entire strategy. So it's very important to basically think about the Fusion Strike energy before planning to play your main combo. Obviously, for any decks that you build, you have to, factor in all of the meta decks and what people are playing right now to basically counter those top tier lists. If they play, for example, Lugia V-Star, what are you going to do? If they play a Lost Box, what do you have? Like, how are you going to counter those decks? We have to think about those strategies and basically build in a proof, a Mew VMAX proof or a Lost Box proof. We have to add in those elements into the deck. Maybe a Espeon V for Mew VMAX, maybe, Espeon VMAX for Sableye. Something. We have to do something. Klefki is a good counter against Lost Box, but if you don't play a hit and run or something like a Lumineon that shuffles itself back into the deck, I don't think it works that well in Standard. Klefki is not really that big of a deal, honestly, except just for the Lost Box. It's slowing down Lost Box a lot more, but they got Escape Rope. If you don't have 2 Klefkis in play every single turn, Escape Rope, a simple item, is going to basically help them deny you the ability lock, and they can quite easily just start losing enough cards to play the Mirage Gate, and then you would be screwed. All they need is to lose 7 cards, and they can't even do that with Colress, so even if you lock them from using Comfy's ability, eventually they would have enough cards in the lost zone. You're just slowing them down. They would eventually be able to play their Colress anyways, but it would be a lot more difficult for them to get the Colress into their hand though, since they are relying on Comfy to draw cards as well. They may not get any supporter cards in their hand early game, so Klefki is definitely a good lock, but I'm not sure if it's practical for every deck. Even Miraidon plays that, but I'm not sure if it's actually gonna do much. But anyways, let's just get back to Earth and focus on this game right here. So here comes the VMAX with enough energies to start smashing some knockouts, and we have our Kirlia in the game, but no Gardevoir yet. So for our first VMAX knockout, we can easily do Side Shield Bash to kill off the Mew VMAX with 1 hit. And then the next VMAX is going to be a bit tricky because we need to play either the Thorton or the Team Yell's Cheer at the right time to be able to do Psy Shield Bash a second time on the VMAX, but I feel like they would be attacking with the Meloetta at some point. So we have to either kill off a VMAX, a Meloetta, and a Genesect with a boss, or to target 2 VMAX in a row, finishing up the game by drawing all 6 prizes for 2 knockouts or 3 knockouts. We may have to do 3 knockouts though, just because if we do a boss on the second Mew VMAX, we actually can't knock it out with our Mirror Pain, since we are only placing 30 damage counters, which is actually not enough against the Mew VMAX, obviously, because it has 310 HP. We can't actually kill it with our Wyrdeer, since we need to play Thorton. If we play Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle it back, we need to wait 1 turn before we're able to do the boss. So it's a bit tricky. The second Wyrdeer, I'm not sure we can pull off another Psy Shield Bash while doing a boss at the same time. Is going to be a lot more difficult. If you play the Thorton and then wait 1 turn to target the Mew, they're probably going to do a boss on you first, and then you're going to have to shuffle back the Wyrdeer all over again, which is kind of silly. So you should never be benching Pokemon's weight earlier than you need them. You should only be doing a surprise strike with your Wyrdeer, because that way at least you're guaranteeing yourself a 1-hit KO before they kill off your Wyrdeer. And they got O Cemetery, which is actually not doing anything to our Gardevoir EX. It is, giving them extra damage on our Wyrdeer though. So if they play Path to the Peak, they are locking their own draw support, and that means they need other stadiums or worker, something to basically discard the Path to the Peak from play. I don't think they have a Path to the Peak for this deck though. I'm not sure if they're playing Path, because if they have it, they should be using it right now, since they know we're playing a Gardevoir EX. Path to the Peak is obviously locking Gardevoir's ability, since it is a rule box Pokemon. It doesn't specify V Pokemon, it just says rule box Pokemon, and that means Path to the Peak is going to stay in the game as a top tier card for most of the meta right now, because it's locking not just V star ability but also EX ability, which is huge. So we got our second Kirlia. We're gonna start dropping some cards and drawing out the energy. We got PokéStop in this deck as well, helping us discard even more energies and also dig out some items for us to play. We have only 1 Escape Rope in this deck for us to do a switch, but we have the excuses. We have a lot of energies for the retreat cost. So if we play Psychic Embrace right, we can actually satisfy the retreat cost using Gardevoir's ability. Instead of having to switch, we got energies from the discard pile to satisfy the retreat. We can't obviously play Gardevoir's ability for Greninja or our Manaphy, or even Wyrdeer, but we don't need to retreat with Wyrdeer. If we retreat with Manaphy or Greninja, we just need 1 energy from our hand, and we can satisfy the attack cost with our Psychic Embrace on our Psychic Pokemon. So it doesn't really need much. It doesn't take much for us to retreat, and it's quite easy, unless if they play a Speed Up CX. We would need to be a little bit more worried. They could actually do a boss on our Greninja, and then, play a Speed Ups to basically lock our Greninja in the active, denying us the retreat, trapping us in the active, while also doing something like milling our deck or doing a bench snipe to basically, slowly kill off 1 Pokemon at a time on our bench. So if they do that though, we have our Thorton to save ourselves by swapping out the Greninja with a Psychic Pokemon with a basic Psychic from the discard pile, by using Kirlia for the discard, and also Thorton to swap in a Wobbuffet, for example, so that we actually get to retreat with our Psychic Embrace and then start attacking with our first Wyrdeer. Or if we have the Wobbuffet in the active already, we can even attack with it by using Psychic Embrace to basically collect those damage counters on our Espeon and start killing off anything in the placing damage counters in the active bit by bit with our Wobbuffet, so that we can actually slowly knock them out using Mirror Pain. If they play a control deck, chances are they're going to play Crushing Hammer or some ways to discard our energy, and we can actually counter that quite easily with our Psychic Embrace. So if they play Path to the Peak though, they are locking their own ability, since Speed Up CX is a rule box Pokemon, so chances are they are not allowed to play Path to the Peak with Speed Ups, and that means Gardevoir is safe. We do have our stadium cards as well if they play Path. We have 1 Mesagoza, 1 PokéStop, and 1 Worker to basically discard any stadium from play, helping us use our EX ability once more. So you have to be very careful though when you are playing your stadium cards. Make sure you save a few for just in case when they play the Path, because they could actually choose to play it late as a surprise lock to basically deny you the Psychic Embrace, deny you the attack cost, so you can't actually do anything without the EX ability. So if they do that, we need to make sure we have a couple more spare stadiums or a couple more spare workers in the deck for us to play our EX ability once more by removing that stadium from play so that we get to use our Gardevoir. So if you have, for example, your worker in the discard pile, you can shuffle it back with your Team Yell's Cheer and think about playing that supporter on the next turn with your Kirlia by drawing it out into your hand. And also, worker helps you draw 3 cards as well, so that's a big plus, in addition to the stadium discard. So I think I'm just going to end the voice right here and leave you guys to focus on the game. Let's go for silent gameplay and let you guys experience this video in your own way with enhanced music. So today we're featuring our Wyrdeer V, Espeon VMAX, and also Wobbuffet Single Strike, helping us do Mirror Pain at the last second after playing Psychill Bash. We have our Gardevoir EX engine for the energy and also Kirlia to draw cards with. We're not playing Rare Candy, but we do have our Wyrdeer for a massive knockout with only 8 energies. We get to kill a VMAX with 1 hit. We also get to kill any V-Star with our Mirror Pain later on with 2 Wobbuffet in a row. We even have our Agatha to kill off a VMAX using our Single Strike Pokemon, and also Thorton to revive our Wyrdeer for another strike. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, and bye from the people. Enjoy life!
baby, it's me. I was just calling to chat with you a little bit. I miss you a lot. And I miss hearing your voice. Bye, hon. And I miss hearing your voice.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
you.